Hi everyone, and welcome to the 12th online session of Social Translation course. In this session, our main focus will be on linguistic appropriateness, how to make your translation appropriate to the target reader and the target text. Therefore, our objectives today is to, 1, is to define the word competence, what is competence, and 2, to distinguish between two types of competences. The first one is the linguistic competence, the second one is the translational competence, and also we are going to identify the different ways of promoting translational competence, how to increase and promote and improve your translation competence, and we are going also to recognize some strategies that help us to achieve appropriateness or to identify the linguistic competence. So, as we repeatedly say, that translation is a process of transferring ideas or meaning of one language into another. So, when we translate, we are distracted, we are fluctuating, we are torn between two main aspects, whether we translate the form of the language or the meaning of the language. What do you think? When we translate the form, our main focus will be on the grammatical structure, the word level, and the punctuation mark, the ordering of the words in a sentence. While when we translate meaning, our main focus will be on the content, the ideas that have been stated in the source text. So, I guess, as I repeatedly say, that when we translate, we do not translate sounds, we do not translate grammar, we do not translate punctuation, we do not translate letters, but we translate meaning. So our main focus to make your text, to make your translation informative, to make your translation communicative, i.e. it is understood. That's why we need something known as competence. So what is competence and what it has to do with translation? Competence refers to the abilities, skills, attitudes needed to carry out any activity successfully. So it's just like the know-how, how to do this successfully or perfectly in a different, unique way, outstanding way. So competence here is a very important item in translational studies. So an example of competence, for example, which is usually related to the word knowledge. So whenever we say the word competence, it means knowledge. So if you have a competence of something, it means you have the skills, you have the knowledge, you have the activities, you have all the required items to do something. So for example, if you have a competence in a certain language, it means you know very well the rules of this language. For example, if you have some language competence of French, so you know the rules of French, and you know some French words, and you know the meaning of sentences in context, in use. For example, if we have this example of English idiom, let the cat out of the bag. If you have a linguistic competence, a good linguistic competence of English, you will be able to detect its meaning. For example, here we have this structure in an example. So I was trying to keep the party a secret, but John went and let the cat out of the bag. So I was trying to keep the party a secret, but let the cat out of the bag. Here we have to allow something that is unknown to be known, usually without intending to do so. So competence here, again, as we said, it refers to, it's a group of abilities, skills, and attitudes needed to do something. It is somehow related to the knowledge and the skills required to do something, or acquire due to frequent uses of something. So, what is the connection between competence and translation? In fact, in translation, we need two types of competences in conducting this process. The first type of competence that we need to keep in mind is the linguistic competence. The second type that we need while we are translating is the translational competence. So linguistic competence, it means that you know the background, you know a lot of this language, you know more about the vocabulary of this language, how to identify the meaning, the lexical problems of this text that is written in a certain language. And also you can figure out the grammar, so you can know the grammar in this language. You can know the different types of tenses, for example, the different types of verbs, for example, the difference between past simple and present simple. And also you can detect the meaning of any text written in this language. So, if you are able to do this, if you have the knowledge to carry out this process using the linguistic competence, so the next step when you are translating, you need some other competence, some other skills that will help you to produce a perfect translation. So this item is known as translational competence. If this is related to the language, this has to do with the translation. So translational competence is the collection of skills that allow you to produce professional, outstanding, world-class translation that are suitable to the specification of a good translation and follow the local test in your target language. For example, here, when we said we have some characteristics of a good translation, we said we have your translation must be informative, must be accurate, must be natural. So how can I make my translation natural? By here acquiring some translational competence skills that will make my translation professional and world class, and most importantly suitable to the specification. And this is what I mean by local taste. Local taste is your natural acquisition of the language, the natural flavor of the language, the natural aspects of the language. So linguistic competence will help us, for example, to differentiate between these two sentences. So which of the following, the two sentences, is correct and which is not? According to the linguistic competence of English, we'll say that the first one is correct, while the second one is grammatically incorrect. Why? Because here, let's read them. John plays tennis on Sundays with his classmates. The second one, John tennis on Sundays, his classmates with plays. So, if we just have a closer look at these two sentences, we'll find out that they include the same words. John, we have the first John and John, plays and we have plays. We have tennis and we have tennis, on Sundays, and his and with and classmates. However, their ordering are not the same. So John here occurs in the first position, while John here again occurs in the first position. Play comes second, while plays comes last in the sentence, in the second sentence. So why the first one is grammatically correct while the second one is not? Because again, our knowledge of the language, our knowledge of English tells us that the first one follows the order of English sentence: subject, verb, and complement. Subject, verb, object, and complement. This is the time, and this is the person involved with playing tennis. So this is the linguistic competence. So the linguistic competence will help us to analyze the text. Remember when I said we need to analyze the text analysis? When I discussed the text analysis, I said we need to know that the problems, the content, the formality level, and the tense, and cohesion and coherence. This linguistic competence will help us with text analysis again. And then we need the second type of competence, which is translational competence. So what is translation competence? Translation competence is the ability to complete that transfer process from the source text to the target text in a way that is understood and in a way that makes your reader or your audience believe that this is a natural text. This is not a translated or awkward text. So, can we say that any bilingual person is a good translator? What do you think? If I can speak English and French, or English and Chinese, does this mean that I am a good translator of English into Japanese or Japanese into English? Of course not. This is the fine difference. This is the main criteria that makes a good translation. Not only the linguistic competence, the linguistic knowledge of the two languages, but we need other skills, and these skills are known as translation. So you need to find out your way to judge whether your translation is good one or not, or is it effective, is it informative, is it natural. So you need to judge your translation. How can you judge your translation of being a good translation or not? You need to acquire translational competence, not only linguistic competence, not only the knowledge of English and the Japanese, but we need to know how to translate. So, the component of translational competence are to identify the text type. What is the text type of your text? Is it informative? Is it operative? Is it expressive? This has nothing to do with linguistic competence. It's not a part of the grammar. It's not a part of the lexical items. It's not a part of the punctuation marks. Or the strategy of this text type. Should we translate it literally? Should we translate it by some kind of adaptation? Or should we have a similar style? And then you need to find out the information in your text, and you need to find out the information again stated in your source text and target text. And one of the most important items in translational competence is to use the correct references. Should I use he or it? Should I use they or him? And also you need to adopt linguistic appropriateness. Linguistic appropriateness includes a lot of items in translation. So when we translate, we should keep this in mind, linguistic appropriateness. So how can we use this linguistic appropriateness? In this session and in the next two sessions, we are going to discuss in detail the linguistic appropriateness. And also in translation, you need to keep or maintain cohesion and coherence in your text. What kind of connections do I need to link this unit with this unit? How can I make my paragraph or my text coherent and coherence connected together? And also you need to work on your draft to make some kind of editing, revision, and proofreading to make sure that you don't have any spelling mistakes, you don't have any meaning mistakes, and you haven't skipped translating any item in your text. So let's go to the practice part. In this practice, this text is related to the education text. So here, the National Teacher Training Program. This text discusses the idea of training teacher and to change their teaching style to make their text more communicative, which will in fact affect teaching and the courses that are offered. So let's read it together. The National Teacher Training Program aims to improve the teaching and training practices and to raise the level of English language and the pedagogical abilities of the English primary teachers. It's a partnership with the Egyptian Ministry of Education and of course the British Council, and will benefit up to 37,000 primary school teachers. The project is designed for the Ministry of Primary Education, the Ministry of Education primary stage, grades 1 to 6 teachers, and the Ministry of Education supervisors. It also aims to raise the level of English skills in math and science teachers who use English as a language of instruction in both the governmental and experimental language schools. And this project will run until March 2020. So, here is the text, and we need to translate this text. So how can we translate it? So we could say, for example, here البرنامج الوطني والقومي لتدريب المعلمين. So let's divide this into units. I guess in English, dividing your text into units is not that hard because we can just follow the punctuation marks, unlike Arabic, which we sometimes ignore that punctuation marks. So we can follow the punctuation marks all around to divide this text into 4 units. So the first unit here we have National Teacher Training Program. The National Teacher Training Program aims at, as we repeatedly say, that in translating from English into Arabic, preferably to start with a verb. So يهدف, it's a present simple again. So يهدف برنامج or البرنامج القومي لتدريب المعلمين. Of course we can say المعلم or المعلمين, both of them we haven't changed the meaning here, so we could say يهدف البرنامج القومي لتدريب المعلمين والبرنامج القومي لتدريب المعلم إلى تحسين. Remember, this is my draft again because we are going to work on this by using the translational competence. إلى تحسين ممارسات التدريس والتدريب ورفع مستوى اللغة الإنجليزية والقدرة التربوية لمعلمي المدارس المرحلة الابتدائية. It, what does it refer to at? What do you think? It refers to the national, of course. So وهذا البرنامج عبارة عن شراكة بين المجلس البريطاني ووزارة التربية والتعليم، وسيفيد أكثر من 37,000 معلم من معلمي المرحلة الابتدائية. This is the second stage, right? Then we have this one. The project is designed. وقد صمم هذا البرنامج خصيصا لمعلمي المرحلة الابتدائية من الصف الأول حتى الصف السادس بوزارة التربية والتعليم وموجهي الوزارة، كما يهدف إلى أيضا إلى رفع مستوى مهارات اللغة الإنجليزية لمعلمي الرياضيات والعلوم الذين يستخدمون اللغة الإنجليزية في تدريس هذه المواد في المدارس الحكومية والرسمية. سيستمر هذا المشروع حتى شهر مارس من عام 2020. So again, this is my attempt, my draft of this text. And this draft depends on the linguistic competence. This is an example of linguistic competence. What do I mean by linguistic competence? It means I benefited from my knowledge of English and Arabic, and I tried to translate this text. However, I need to work on the translational competence. So how can we make this more professional translation, and how to make it more natural translation? We could of course make some uses of the examples here. So we could say, remember when I said what we are going to do in linguistic competence? We are going to use did we use the text type and its strategy? And do we have the same information? Do we have the same elements? And do we have clear reference? Do we have linguistic competence? Or is our translation natural one or not? And did we use the correct conjunction or not? Do we have any spelling or grammar mistakes? So here, for example, we have one of the spelling mistakes. So we could write down here يهد المشروع or البرنامج القومي لتدريب المعلمين. So we could say يهدف البرنامج القومي لتدريب المعلمين إلى تحسين أساليب. So this is a natural way. وطرق أساليب التدريس والتدريب. And we could have here للمعلمين because both of these items are related to المعلمين. So أساليب التدريس والتدريب والتدريس لمعلمي المرحلة الابتدائية و do we say رفع مستوى? In Arabic do we say this or we say تحسين مستوى؟ and وتحسين مستويات اللغة الإنجليزية وتحسين مستوياتهم في اللغة الإنجليزية. Now again we try to make the translation natural one. So it sounds like Arabic. We could say ويقوم هذا البرنامج على تعاون مشترك بين we don't say المجلس البريطاني but we say المعهد البريطاني ووزارة التربية والتعليم وسيستفيد منه أكثر من 37,000 معلم في المرحلة الابتدائية وقد تم وضع هذا البرنامج لهؤلاء المعلمين الذين يدرسون للصفوف الذين for example we could say وقد تم وضع هذا البرنامج للمعلمين الذين يدرسون المرحلة الابتدائية من الصفوف الأولى من الصفوف الصف الأول وحتى السادس، بالإضافة إلى موجهي وزارة التربية والتعليم. كما يهدف البرنامج إلى تحسين مستوى اللغة الإنجليزية لمعلمي الرياضيات والعلوم الذين يستخدمون اللغة الإنجليزية في التدريس، سواء في المدارس الحكومية أو التجريبية. وسيستمر هذا المشروع حتى نهاية شهر مارس من عام 2020. So here this is again a direct application of translation competence. What do I mean by translation competence and how did I use it? Again, I make sure that all the units of translation connected, that make sure that all of them are connected together, and we have the same reference. We have here those kind of برنامج هو المشروع هو البرنامج, so all of them refer to the same elements here. So برنامج هو البرنامج, so repetition or using reference أو يهدف إلى, so we have here يهدف البرنامج. So this is, it's a kind of connection. So here also I use here a conjunction يقوم and وسيستفيد and what قد. So you have two بالإضافة إلى. So I used a lot of cohesive ties to make my text connected together, and also I make use of the same information here. Let's read it, and does it make a natural text or not? يهدف البرنامج القومي لتدريب المعلمين إلى تحسين أساليب تحسين, we could say تطوير أساليب التدريس, instead of saying ممارسات which sound a little bit unnatural. So here instead of saying ممارسات which is a lexical translation, I replaced it with a natural one, a pragmatic one, لمعلمي المرحلة الابتدائية وتحسين مستوياتهم. So here we have, this is what I mean by linguistic appropriateness. Why? Because we have two elements for the teacher, تحسين أساليب التدريس بتاعتهم, والحاجة الثانية إن أنا أشتغل على مستوى اللغة الإنجليزية. So we have two مضافين لمضاف إليه واحد. So I tried to make it natural in Arabic by linking them to the same person they are connected to, or they are connected with. So here يهدف البرنامج القومي لتدريب المعلمين إلى تحسين أساليب التدريس والتعليم والتدريس والتدريب لمعلمي المرحلة الابتدائية وتحسين مستوياتهم. So I used the correct reference here. وتحسين مستوياتهم في اللغة الإنجليزية، ويقوم هذا البرنامج على تعاون مشترك. Here it was شراكة, it becomes تعاون مشترك again. Sounds like a natural translation. بين المعهد البريطاني, instead of saying المجلس البريطاني, I tried to be linguistically oriented and translationally natural. ووزارة التربية والتعليم وسيستفيد منه أكثر من 37 ألف معلم في المرحلة الابتدائية. وقد تم وضع هذا البرنامج للمعلمين الذين يدرسون المرحلة الابتدائية من الصف الأول وحتى الصف السادس، بالإضافة إلى موجهي وزارة التربية والتعليم. كما يهدف هذا البرنامج إلى تحسين مستوى اللغة الإنجليزية لمعلمي الرياضيات والعلوم الذين يستخدمون اللغة الإنجليزية في التدريس سواء في المدارس الحكومية أو التجريبية، وسيستمر هذا المشروع حتى نهاية شهر مارس. So this is just an example of making use of the translational competence. So in translational competence, again, we identify the text type and its strategy, literal translation, and we make use of comprehending the information, المعهد البريطاني, نوت المجلس البريطاني, and the pragmatic aspects, we make use of this, and the reference, هستخدم هم ولا استخدم هو, and the linguistic competence, الصفة بتيجي قبل الموصوف ولا الموصوف بيجي قبل الصفة. linguistic competence, المضاف يسبق المضاف إليه ولا المضاف إليه يتبع المضاف. And cohesion and coherence, which is again connection and so on, and I proofread it for any spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes. So this will be the topic for our next sessions. So again, keep in mind these two types of translation competence. The first one, the linguistic competence, which is your draft, and the second one is the translational competence. So that's it for today, and your assignment will to attempt translating the rest of the text, this part, all of this. And two is to read the assigned text. There will be a reading assignment of an article, and your assignment will be to write one paragraph about some 4 sub-competences of translation. So the author of this article spoke about the 4 subtypes of competences of translation. So what are they? So just you are going to write down one paragraph. So that's it for today, and I wish you all the best. If you have any question, you can get back to me on the LMS. Thank you, and I wish you the best of luck.